If you want realism, read a biography. The 19th century novel belongs to the romantic imagination. Even Dickens, champion of truth to life, kept sneaking ghosts in the back door. Today I'm making the case that romantic modes didn't just survive the century, they dominated it, often by infiltrating realism itself. I'll define the camps, show the snarky reviews, and prove how the age of fact ran on feeling, wonder, and fear. Quick definitions so we're all playing with the same deck. Romanticism, not romance as in love stories. Think imagination, emotion, the sublime, individuality, extremes of experience. It favors the extraordinary over the ordinary. Opposite pole to realism. Gothic, the darkest branch of Romanticism. Terror, ruins, haunted minds and houses, supernatural hints, violent passion, realism, ordinary life, plausible plots, social accuracy, moral complexity, no miracles. Naturalism, late century realism supercharged by science, heredity, environment, determinism. The lines blur constantly. Gothic can inch toward realism. Anne Radcliffe built her career on explained supernatural. Sensation fiction later plants Gothic shocks in respectable drawing rooms. Keep that in mind. From the 1790s on, rationalists and moralists went after Gothic with relish. Jane Austen fires the cleanest shot in Northanger Abbey. When Catherine Morland falls for Gothic fantasies, Henry Tilney snaps her back. Remember the country and the age in which we live. Remember that we are English, that we are Christians. What ideas have you been admitting? Then, Frankenstein arrives in 1818, and critics lose it. The British critics snarled that it was a tissue of horrible and disgusting absurdity, the kind of book that fatigues the feelings without interesting the understanding. Meanwhile, Walter Scott, who knew his romance, praised it for giving the marvelous a convincing surface. Right there, you see the split, moralists versus artists. By mid-century, realism is the respectable standard. George Eliot asks for the faithful representation of commonplace things and treats it as a moral duty. Thackeray subtitles Vanity Fair a novel without a hero and drains away chivalric glamour on purpose. The expanding press, serial publication, and an urban readership hungry for social truth make realism the establishment taste. Plot contrivances and supernatural thrills start to look childish, at least to reviewers. Let's talk Dickens. In prefaces, he vows to show criminals as they really are, not with the false glitter of Newgate romance. Then he writes A Christmas Carol with a chain-rattling ghost. He denounces melodrama and then builds Miss Havisham's mildewed mausoleum of a room and lights it on fire. He publishes social exposés and can't resist fog like a living creature, villains worthy of a pantomime, and coincidences huge enough to turn tides. That's not a failure. It's the Victorian formula that actually works. Factual texture plus romantic intensity. The man sensed what readers wanted. Truth with wonder. The Brontës push even harder. Jane Eyre is a sober governess's memoir wrapped in Gothic signals, mysterious laughter, a locked attic, nocturnal visitations. Wuthering Heights went further. One 1848 reviewer confessed it, shocked, disgusted, almost sickened him with its ferocity, and yet he couldn't deny its power. Because romantic extremity, handled seriously, feels more truthful than tidy probability. Mid-video question. If realism wins the lecture hall, why do readers chase the shiver? Hold that thought. Enter the sensation novel of the 1860s. Wilkie Collins's The Woman in White, Mary Elizabeth Braddon's Lady Audley's Secret. These books look realist. Modern settings, legal minutiae, domestic detail, and then they spring hidden identities. Bigamy, poison, lunacy, and conspiracies. H.L. Mansell splutters in 1863 that sensation novels are got up to supply the cravings of a diseased appetite. Punch magazine parodies the craze with a fake plot checklist, grandmother marriage, wholesale poisonings, and the kicker, full of delightful horrors. The joke lands because it's accurate. The Gothic didn't retreat, it moved into the parlor and took up knitting. By the fin-de-siècle, romantic darkness is back with new masks. Stevenson's Jekyll and Hyde reads like a forensic case file, and then cracks open the divided self. Wilde's Dorian Gray wraps decadence in a moral fable that won't admit it's a moral fable. Stoker's Dracula runs on telegrams, diaries, and transfusions. Realist documents marshaled to report an ancient terror. Technology doesn't dispel the Gothic, it intensifies the contrast. That's why it works. Radcliffe's Explained Supernatural keeps feet on the ground while granting you the thrill. A portrait's eyes that move turn out to be candlelight through a hole in the wall. Later, sensation fiction does the same move without the ghost. A locked room, a forged will, a noise in the night, every shock technically possible. Gothic isn't always the opposite of realism. It's realism's shadow, the part that says, ordinary life hides extraordinary danger. Victorians recognized that. So do we. Across the 19th century, critics tried to police taste. Facts over fancies, probability over passion. It didn't work. The Romantic imagination, especially in Gothic form, persevered, evolved, and finally ran the table. Realism gave the novel its conscience. Romanticism gave it its pulse. You want pure fact? Read a biography. If you want the truth that grips, the terror, wonder, ecstasy, and nightmare we actually live with, welcome to literature. Now your turn. Which camp tells the deeper truth? Kitchen table realism or the candlelit corridor? And give me a favorite realist moment that's secretly romantic. I'll go first in the comments. If you enjoyed the brawl, subscribe for more duels on the 19th shelf. Until next time, keep your candles lit and your prefaces loaded.